You can stay right there.
I don't need to approach you?
No, you can stay right back there. You can walk back that way.
Ma'am.
You can walk back that way.
Yeah.
Keep walking back that way.
Can you de-escalate a little bit? Because I feel like you're trying to just exert your authority over me, and I don't like it.
I'm not. I'm speaking to you in my normal voice.
You have no authority over me. Okay?
Actually, I do.
I'm in a public building. I'm conducting lawful business.
And they're asking you to leave.
I'm conducting lawful business. No, they didn't. That's a lie.
Yes, they did.
They did not ask me to leave.
They asked you to leave, and they said that you were no longer allowed to be here.
I'm conducting business.
So therefore, you need to leave the location.
I'm conducting business. I'm doing a Freedom of Information Act request.
They asked you to leave.
So you're saying, can I get a supervisor here?
Well, right now, we were called here by the people who work in this office building.
Okay.
They're concerned for their safety and their well-being, that there was somebody in here. They've asked you to step out and to leave and to stop video recording.
They did not.
Here.
I have it on camera. They did not ask me to leave.
Okay. Well, that's what they're relaying to us.
Okay, that's a lie.
That's why we are here right now. I'm not going to dispute truth or fact right now. I'm going to tell you that is why we're here right now. We are going to conduct our investigation.
That's fine.
Okay?
Conduct whatever investigation you like.
For your ID, because we do need to know who we're speaking with right now.
You're going to ask for my ID.
Yes, I am.
So in order
of our investigation.
Okay. In order for me, I just want to just, I listen to you, so I'd ask you just listen to me. I don't need to assist you in your investigation. I don't work for the police department. I don't want to assist you in your investigation into me for whatever reason. Do you have a crime that you suspect me of committing? Do you have reasonable, articulable suspicion?
Investigation of a complaint, yes.
Do you have reasonable, articulable suspicion I've committed a crime?
We're not saying that you committed a crime. We are here to investigate a complaint right now.
So if you haven't, if you're saying that I haven't committed a crime, then I don't have to provide you my ID lawfully, so I'm not going to.
Okay, then I'm going to ask you to step out of this building and to leave this building.
I'm conducting business, ma'am.
Okay, at this point you were asked that you were not allowed welcome here anymore, and we were going to ask you to leave.
But you can't stop somebody from recording. You can't stop somebody from gathering.
I never asked you to stop recording. That is not what I've asked you to do. I asked
You're asking me to leave a public building, ma'am.
Yes, you are no longer
Can I get your name?
in this building. My name is Sergeant Mayer.
You don't need to step over there.
Excuse me? Am I being detained?
You are being asked to stay here for our investigation.
Am I being detained?
You are temporarily being detained as we commit our investigation.
Unlawful detainment.
You can call it how you...
It isn't almost... You have to learn the law. If you're going to uphold the law, you took an oath to the Constitution. Freedom of press is part of the Constitution. You have to... If you're going to uphold it, you have to learn it. This is an illegal detainment. You can't detain me unless you suspect that I'm committing a crime. This is all things you should have learned in the academy. And as a supervisor, I think that's, you should really know. You cannot detain somebody legally without you having suspected me of committing a crime. This is ridiculous.
We're good, yes.
Thank you. Can I get your name, sir? Can I get your
Dolan.
Lieutenant Doland? Thank you, Lieutenant. You guys are dismissed. Please don't detain me unlawfully anymore.
The France that you see now is a France that is built on the back of those colonies. They were harsh because their very survival depended on these colonies. And their harshness can be seen when, on the eve of independence in African countries, they signed the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. The yes-no vote for French colonies to decide whether after so-called independence they would retain connection and connectivity with Paris. They gave everybody the opportunity to vote yes or no, but they did not want you to vote no. So that when Guinea voted no under Ahmed Sékou Touré, when they were leaving, they destroyed everything that was capable of being destroyed. Modibo Keïta, in what was then the French Sudan, now Mali, they destroyed everything. Algeria, the pogrom in Algeria, when they were leaving, then led by Ahmed Ben Bella, they destroyed everything. The other countries, they continue to control. As we speak, the currencies of all former French colonies are still printed in France, CFA franc. Their cruelty, I think, comes out of a big psychological burden, which they visit, transfer of aggression. It is painful. You can see even as we speak during the coup d'etats in Africa, the arrogance. You tell a country which is equal in international law that we have accredited our ambassador, we do not care. France, the home of revolution, the home of coup d'etats at one time, can not recognize a revolution when it's taking place, and they say, accept our ambassador. We don't accept the revolution. That is France for you. Arrogance. The most arrogant of the colonial powers. You know, the history of France is the history of how the arrogance fall. If you allow me, the school bully who takes lunch from every little boy and little girl thinks that he is invincible. Then one day, the little boy says, "Today you are not taking my lunch." And what the little boy does is to hit you when you did not expect. And you find yourself on the ground and everybody is laughing at you. France did not see what is happening in West Africa coming. So they find themselves at a time when they are very weak economically, when at home the population of immigrants is growing bigger and bigger. You go to cities such as Marseille, you find Algerians, you find Moroccans, you find Senegalese, you find Guineans, you find Burkinabe, and things are not happening as they used to be. Then, in the former colonies that you thought you are controlling, a breed of young men and women begin rising. They rise in Guinea-Conakry, and the first thing they do is they say, "We abolish all the agreements that exist between us and France." They rise in Burkina Faso, and they say the same thing. They rise in Mali, and they say the same thing. They rise in Niger, which has been providing you with uranium. Now you can't take it. I think they cannot take it because they are losing food which has been inside of their mouth, and they do not know how to behave. As somebody once said, without Africa, there is no France. Without our former colonies, give France only 20 years, and it will be one of the poorest nations in the continent of Europe. And that is going to happen. And they are resisting because for them this is life and death. But the stars, which I can now perfectly read, are telling me that their goose is cooked, and very well cooked.
The monument is supposed to represent national pride. It's supposed to represent the fact that our country stood up against a genocide. The fact that at the end of World War II, we looked at the lives lost, not just British soldiers who gave their lives to fight a genocide, but at the horrific atrocities we saw when a genocide was committed. And we said, never again will we allow this to happen. We built a monument to remind us, never again. But never again means never again for everyone. There is a genocide happening right now in Gaza. It's been so destroyed, it is literally a different colour from space. Homes, hospitals, schools destroyed. It's never again happening again right in front of our eyes. And not only is our country not fighting back against it, we're deeply complicit in it. It is UK-made weapons that are being used to bomb the schools, to kill babies. Our government is allowing this. Our government is driving this and has been from the start. It's disgraceful. This action is not meant out of disrespect. It is a message to our government, to Labour, that they need to remember what this stands for. They need to act with even the tiniest bit of moral background. Because right now they are disgracing the people who gave their lives to fight a genocide. They're disgracing the people of this country, and they do not represent us. The people of this country stand against the genocide. And we demand a two-way arms embargo on Israel now. Young people are moving into resistance. We're fighting back because we have seen that nothing else works. We've seen week after week of non-disruptive protests, and we've seen them ignore us. It's not working. We have to disrupt. We have to take non-violent direct action. Sign up at youthdemand.org and stand with the people of Palestine.
The children of Congo have been dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the strength and all the strategies necessary to support its states so that they can find peace. We will not even talk about us here in the Sahel. For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the scene of international terrorism. But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem. Worse, a few days ago, a foreign country in Africa openly announced that it had supported and participated in a cowardly, terrorist, and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation. The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference. The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference of a foreign state in Africa in the internal affairs of our states. I would like them to hear this shout and get out of their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union. We must unite. The only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity.
All French soldiers and military must leave the African continent, and this also should apply to neo-colonial military bases, including the African Command Center of the USA. We don't want the army of America. We don't want the army of France here. We don't want the army of anyone. We want African army on African soil.
Hey! You are bad guy.
Not be juju be that.
You don't know.
Hey!
Hey, le monde part en couille.
What be this? Hey!
Hey!
Not be juju be that.
You don't know.
Hey! You say they wise.
Hey, le monde part en couille.
But the truth is, it's a million miles from the reality of EU-Africa trade policy as it exists now, because our economic relations with Africa are simply a continuation of European colonialism, perpetuating exploitation by other means. Africa trades more with Europe than it does with itself. It's portrayed as a poor continent, but actually it's the richest. It's just that the people there are denied the fruits of their land and their labour by unequal economic relations, by unfair trade rules, by illicit capital flights into the Western banks, and by multinational corporations allowed off the leash by Washington, London and Brussels.
In Rwanda, Paul Kagame has been re-elected for the fourth term in office with 99% of the votes. In so many ways, Rwanda and Israel are somewhat similar. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and Rwanda is the only democracy in Africa. Is our God not a wonderful God? 99%. Oh, okay. So basically, let me explain something to you. If you look at the Western press, they are portraying Rwanda as this model of democracy. Women are being promoted, in workplaces. Women win election in the parliament. But in charge is a dictator who is subservient to Israel, subservient to the European Union, and subservient to his masters in the United States of America. So even if he doesn't win election, they will put him there. This guy will rule until he dies. So by the way, he's been in power since the 2000s. And this is the game they are playing, right? Like I said, Israel and Rwanda somewhat are similar. So the Tutsi came to power on the guise that they were being targeted and massacred during the Rwandan genocide, and they got a lot of sympathy. And since then, they have been marginalizing and killing the majority Hutus. The Tutsis, by the way, are the minority. That is the clan it comes from, supported by Israel, right? Because some of these people claim that they are one of the lost tribes of Israel in Africa. That's for Rwandese politics. This guy have laid siege to Eastern DRC, taking away coltan, and other resources from the country. So the prosperity you guys hear about in Rwanda, and how Kigali is beautiful, and how women are promoted in government, and how women win election, this pink washing and so on and so forth, comes at a cost. This guy is basically a tyrant. The same thing that is happening in Israel, if you copy and paste, is exactly what is going on in Rwanda. And they are claiming never again as well. Because the argument is that during the Rwandan genocide, a lot of the Tutsi tribe where he comes from were targeted. And I'm not saying it didn't happen, but let's look at the background of the story. This guy and the RPF, he was the leader of the RPF, by the way, shot a plane and killed the two presidents of Africa, the president of Burundi and the president of Rwanda. And that led to the escalation because the minorities were being armed to the teeth and supported by foreign powers. And the Hutus that were in power fought back, and we now hear of the Rwandan genocide. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I would love to know more about the story, but this guy has been placed in power and is serving the interest of the West, and now he has won another election with 99%, and he's beloved by the IMF, he's beloved by the World Bank, he's beloved by the United States of America, he's beloved by the Israelis, he's beloved by the French. These guys love him because he's taking away vital resources from Congo, creating chaos in Congo, and taking these resources and handing it over to the European Union and to its masters in the United States of America. Earlier this year, the European Union signed a deal with Rwanda to get essential minerals. What do they want from Rwanda? Coltan. But Rwanda does not have those coltan tantalites. There is coltan tantalites in Congo DRC, particularly in Goma, in Bukavu, in the eastern part of the DRC. So this guy is supposed to be the beacon of democracy and this, this fledgling democracy in Africa, and how women have been promoted in power and so on and so forth. It's all a hogwash. Anything you see the West loving in Africa is because they are exploiting from it. They don't like that which they are not exploiting. And this guy is the linchpin of the chaos we are seeing in Eastern Africa today. Whether it is the conflict in South Sudan, whether initially the conflict in Darfur, Rwanda is being used as a base, like Kenya is being used as a base as well to create chaos in East Africa. This is the problem of Africa. If you count the 5 problems in Africa, he's number 1. This guy is a sellout of Africa. And yet, the West portrays Rwanda as this beautiful country. Apart from the capital city, Kigali, that these foreigners have been visiting, where else have you guys visited in Rwanda? It is a small country, looting and pillaging resources from Congo. And yet, this country is supposed to be the beacon of democracy in Africa. It's the same story they are selling to us, that Israel is the only democracy in Africa. But the Israelis are the ones killing babies and women and children. I've had enough of this nonsense, guys. And yet, some Africans believe this. Some Africans living in Africa believe this nonsense. None of them, you don't even do your own research. You believe this rubbish. This guy is the worst tyrant on earth. And yet, the West is portraying him as this, pious pope, as close to heaven as possible. Man, I've had enough, honestly. I've had enough of this disinformation and all this bullshit.
What makes President Museveni accuse you, in your view?
President Museveni...
And then, after you finish that, tell me what motivates you. Because you had a lot of energy for a very long time.
Thank you. Museveni has been a president since the time I was not born. And there is a time and a season for everything. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3, a time to be elected a president or to be a president, and a time to be a civilian, and a time to pass the baton. Museveni has done his part for Ugandans, and I believe that Museveni should be a visionary leader, not a missionary leader. A leader with a vision to transform the lives of Ugandans, not a leader with a mission to destroy the lives of Ugandans. A leader who should fight for his people, not a leader who should fight his people. Therefore, we in East Africa, if we see our neighbor's house being on fire, Our work is to help put out the fire, not to increase the fire. Museveni found it fit or saw it fit to ban me from going to Uganda. A letter was written to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
You're banned from going to Uganda.
He banned me from going to Uganda.
But Uganda is East Africa, you know.
Yeah.
Uganda is your home.
Yeah.
And
So
much
now-
more so, you come from Nyanza,
Yes.
where we have a large community of your community in Uganda. How can that be justified?
So he says that I am persona non grata and I should not step in the soil of Uganda. But he comes to Kenya using my constituency, through my constituency, which is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
Yes.
So me, I welcome him.
Yes.
And him, on the other hand, he doesn't want to see me stepping in Uganda.
Tension and the panic increased. They do not know what Ibrahim Traoré and Russia is planning. Most of these leaders that are panicking right now are the corrupt leaders. They are the ones that when they... The reason Ibrahim Traoré is not living flamboyant life. And this is the reason Ibrahim Traoré is always wearing camouflage. He doesn't want to feel bigger than anybody in Burkina Faso. He wants everybody in Burkina Faso to be serving Burkina Faso equally. He goes to work every day. He visits villages every day. He moved from one place to another. He does not have Toyota Land Cruiser SUVs. He refused to prove Toyota Land Cruiser SUVs to any government official, but governor, minister, local government chairman, lawmaker, president, none of them is allowed to use all those exotic Toyota Land Cruiser SUV in Burkina Faso. And this is the reason everybody is happy. They have known that the governor or the president or the minister or prime minister is not enjoying better than any other person.
By dedicating an entire ministry to it. In the coming days, this reorganization will be done, and you will see how we will evolve. At the level of sport, youth and sports, we have deemed it necessary to take back control. We need to take back control to refocus. Because firstly chosen, sport allows us to avoid a certain number of vices. Drugs, alcohol, certain screws of society can be fought through sport. We therefore want to set up centers in all regions, reconsider the USUBF and all sports disciplines, to be able to promote them and create nurseries, so that at the professional level, we have the maximum number of Burkinabés who defend the colors of Burkina Faso abroad. The ministry that will be focused on that. There are already many texts that have been written, and we will implement this from the next day after the reshuffle to create these spaces ourselves. This will require that we can unite a certain number of forces to achieve this.
European leaders are seeking restraint as Iran is locked and loaded and set to hit Israel and hit them forcefully. Now, these are the same European leaders that have been arming Israel. These are the same European leaders that have been encouraging Israel to slaughter as many as possible. You hear statements from people like Ursula von der Leyen, the EU chief. You hear statements from the NATO Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg, giving legitimacy to what the Israelis are doing. No condemnation whatsoever. I mean, take Europe out, and let's even talk about Britain. To some extent, even though Britain is supporting what is going on, some leaders in Britain have the balls to even come out and criticize Israel. But the European Union, the leadership of the European Union, that model in itself should be dismembered and scattered immediately, because it has been set up to exploit the global south. It has been set up to antagonize Russia. The setup of the European Union benefits countries like Germany and the United States of America. So these are the same guys. I remember the EU chief, Ursula von der Leyen, visiting Cairo early this year and promising them between 5 to 25 billion in debt relief and monetary incentive so that they can allow what is going on in Gaza to continue. These are the same European leaders that have sanctioned, that are taking part in the campaign against Russia. Now they are asking the Iranians to act with restraint. I didn't see these European leaders when Israel bombed the Iranian embassy in Damascus. I didn't see these European leaders when Israel is slaughtering children and women every day. These are the same European leaders that are asking us to cry because the Russians are committing atrocities against the Ukrainians. It is hypocrisy, it is double standard. So I don't take anything that comes out of Europe seriously, because Europe is a complete vassal of the United States of America. Europe does exactly what America wants it to do. So why should we take you guys seriously? Honestly, what you should do right now is to be talking to both sides, not sitting from your high horses and telling the Iranians what to do and what not to do. The Israelis went to Tehran in Iran and assassinated a high political leader, one of the political leaders of Hamas. Now you want to have negotiations with them, but you have killed the leader. This doesn't even make sense. The Europeans are not thinking it through. They are not even interested in thinking it through. All they are interested is to see the end of Palestinians, is to see the end of people of color. And they have said it clearly again in Africa that they want all the Africans gone. They don't want us to industrialize. All they want is our resources and our land. So these are the European leaders that I should be listening to. Give me a break.
Current news updates. We, the citizens of Africa, the youth of Africa, we are calling out Barack Obama, the ex-former president of America, to explain to us what happened to Muammar Gaddafi in 2011 under his administration as an American president. They lied to us that Muammar Gaddafi was a criminal. But now we, the Africa, have realized that Muammar Gaddafi was a freedom fighter and the main criminals are the Europeans. So Barack Obama, as a president of America, then must know exactly what happened to Muammar Gaddafi. So we are calling him out to explain to us exactly what happened, why they assassinate Muammar Gaddafi.
The most dangerous situation is in Africa, because of course Africa is absolutely the most important continent on the planet. The most important continent to the planet. And the next most important, and therefore the next most at-risk region, is the Middle East. The Middle East and Africa power the whole global economy. They power everything that makes so-called modern life possible. It's all made possible by the Middle East and Africa. And if the West was an actually civilized civilization, that would mean that peace and stability in the Middle East and in Africa should be of paramount importance. Good relations and harmonious dealings and so on, that would be the priority if they were civilized people. But of course the West is not civilized. And if you have something that they need, if you have something that they want, then they do not see you as a friend. They don't see you as a friend that they want to be close to and have good relations with. They see you as an enemy that they want to subjugate. They see the world in a predator-prey paradigm.
South Africa is a treaty member of the International Criminal Court. If Putin comes here in August, as planned, your government will be obliged to arrest him. As head of the ANC, do you believe your government should and indeed will arrest Vladimir Putin?
If it was according to the ANC, we will want President Putin to be here even tomorrow.
You would welcome Vladimir Putin here right now?
Of course we will welcome.
A man who is being investigated for war crimes.
Putin is a head of state. Do you think that a head of state can just be arrested anywhere? How many crimes have your country committed in Iraq? How many crimes have everyone else who's so vocal today committed in Iraq and Afghanistan? Have you arrested them? Tony Blair went to Iraq and claimed that they are weapons of mass destruction. More than millions of people have died in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there are no weapons of mass destruction.
Oyo Yesu apesinga inanya botola yango ebongo oyo apimelinga inanya pesanga yango ngai na mitungisa te Yesu nde mupesi misona ngai beta te mbongo eza mutu ya kasiko ndimana ngai eleki mbombo yambala oyo eza Miso yo mesana komone lokote na bomo inangai. Yambala sambo yo ekomona eloko. Lipata uyo ya mukebu sumune suwa no sembula. Kula ekonoka akabe ya komona. Ngamosali na yola kokufela na ila maltete shama. Ngamosali na kokufela na ila maltete Yesu. Kinona mona baba babongola maloba. Ngai mosali na kolongwa mokilio na humiliation te. Ngana lenga te. Na